เริ่มในเซสชันในช่วงบ่ายเลยนะคะเพราะว่าเรามีการแทรกมา1เซสชันนะคะเป็นเซสชันที่คุณพรเทพได้พูดถึงในตอนเช้านิดหนึ่งนะคะแล้วก็เซสชันนี้เป็นเซสชันพิเศษซึ่งเราแทรกขึ้นมาจะใช้เวลาประมาณ25นาทีนะคะ For the next session we are honored to have Mr. Ashish Sedev, International Business Manager from QAI Asia. He will give a presentation on People CMM. Please welcome Mr. Ashish.
Well, a very good afternoon, everyone. I know this is a little tough session for the audiences more than the speaker because just after lunch. So I hope my presentation is interesting enough to keep you away from the nap. Well, the topic today is achieving organizational excellence through the SEI's People Capability Maturity Model. How many of us here have heard about the People CMM before? Have you heard about People CMM? All right, I see a few hands. Perhaps today in the morning's presentation, I think we talked about various SEI frameworks. So the idea is to share some more details on this framework. Just before that, I'll take this opportunity to spend just 2 minutes about QAI, my organization, just to give you an idea about who we are. QAI was started in the US in 1980. Today we are one of the largest SEI transition partners worldwide, and working with over 350 large companies, helping them to improve their processes and achieve operational and business excellence. I won't take much time on organization background. Of course, you're free to visit our website and check. But QAI is focused on operations improvement, whether it's people or processes or SEI frameworks or Six Sigma or knowledge management or project management. So there are various areas of operational excellence that we address. And of course, being the largest SEI transition partner outside of America, we are, it gives us a great opportunity to work with a large number of organizations across various countries. So very quickly, I'll move on to the topic of the presentation. So we'll try and see what are the current workforce issues, the need for People CMM, the overview of the framework, global usage and the benefits, how organizations can benefit using the People CMM. The presentation time was actually about 45 minutes, and I've just been told to try and wind up in about 25 to 30 minutes. So I'll move a little fast, and I may not spend a lot of time on some of the slides, but we'll make sure that we cover the entire content. So if you look today, the business world, there's a changing focus. Organizations were worrying about managing attrition and winning the war for talent. This was the situation a couple of years back where it was very difficult to find talent. And even in many countries, many industries, this is still the situation. Some of the leading organizations now are thinking about people management because we realize that people are key knowledge assets. And moving forward, there are other organizations in some of the more developed IT industries who think about organizational excellence. So the focus is changing. For those who are writing the points, I will give my email ID, so feel free to email me and I'll send a copy of the presentation. All right, so you don't need to write. So if you look at the organizational challenges, if you look at the business today, There is global competition. There are pressure on prices. Your customers always want you to reduce your cost, reduce your price, give the same amount of quality, and the value chain and delivery pressures within budget, within time, better quality, but I won't pay you higher price. So there is a big pressure on business. If you look at the individuals, the professionals, the IT professionals, all of us in this room, we are also going through a change. We are being multi-skilled. There is a more focus on career development. We want the work to be more exciting, not just boring. Of course, pay is important. And we all feel that it's me, my growth, my learning. I am better than my boss, so I need better opportunities. So I think this whole economy is going through a change as individuals. And again, if you look at specific organization, again facing challenges, growth, talent engagement, growing in different countries, different locations, attrition, no hierarchy, flat organization structures, and software companies normally want to have a cool culture, not like the traditional manufacturing companies. So we need to do a balancing act between these, and that's the challenge that companies face. Again, if you look at various voices of the organizations, the business leaders, the CEOs, I don't know how many are in the room, they have specific requirements. They want to retain the best talent. They want all their employees to be engaged to the vision of the company. They want to have leadership at all the levels, not just the top management, but even at project managers, even at software engineers. Similarly, if you look at the delivery managers, they also have their own challenges. They just have pressures of on-time delivery, within cost delivery. They want to improve productivity. If you look at the quality professionals, the SEPG, EPG, the quality guys, you have pressures to continuously innovate and to sustain the process maturity that you have gained in your company. The individuals, they again have requirements of challenging work, recognition, career, and the HR professionals in the software companies also have their own voice. They want to recruit good talent, retain talent, engage, and become a business partner of the top management and not just a support function. Yeah. Of course, there are other examples of soft issues that companies normally face, which are very similar to what we covered. Again, if you look at the process triangle, we always talk about people, process, and technology, right? And when we talk of process, we always talk about the CMM, the CMMI, ISO, ITIL, information systems. So we always talk about processes from the perspective of the delivery. But what we often miss is the people part. And we know that people, process, technology together can help us achieve organizational capability. So therefore we need help, right? In this changing scenario, we need help. So what do? We have many solutions. So we write, we try and create fun at work. We have nice canteen, nice coffee. We do some knowledge management. We do some performance appraisal. We try and benchmark our compensation. So some companies do X, some company do Y, some company do something. So there are many solutions. Now what happens? Because of many solutions, there are also many new issues. What happens? Can a small company have same kind of best practices like a large company? What is the relevance of these practices towards your culture? What are the interrelationships? Can you have many HR initiatives at the same time? How do you measure the performance and impact of these HR initiatives? Some companies say, I will do performance management. Some company will say, I will do career development. We will do mentoring and coaching. How do you measure? How do you get the relevance? So it's a bigger issue. So what do? We need bigger help. Yeah. And that's where the People CMM framework comes in. The People CMM framework was a conceptual model developed by the SEI, Carnegie Mellon, to be based on state-of-the-art practices for the workforce. It's a maturity framework for continuously improving the management and development of human assets of an organization. How many of us really believe that more than process, more than technology, it's we the people who really create, are the real assets of our companies? How many of us really believe, yeah? And there are some who don't still believe, is it? Okay. Well, I hope that thought changes pretty soon. So People CMM, the version 1.0 was released in 95, and then there was version 2, which was released in 2001 in India by the author of the model, Dr. Bill Curtis. So what was the mission? The mission was to help the readiness of organizations to undertake increasingly complex work and helping them to attract, grow, motivate, deploy, and retain the talent which is needed to improve their software development capability. Now, over the years, it's very interesting because I know that there are many organizations here which are not only software organizations. There are banks, telecom companies, IT departments of hospitality, of airlines. Over the years, we have seen that the applicability of People CMM is not just only in software companies, because it's a model which assumes that people are knowledge assets. Therefore, any business, any organization, any industry where people are knowledge assets, People CMM implementation can be very, very useful. So we have seen in the past banks, telecom companies, airlines, hotels, apart from software companies who are able to apply People CMM, not just in the IT department, but across the whole organization. Yeah. So the philosophy is that delivery managers must facilitate the development of people. Individuals must own their own development. People processes must be intricately linked with the business processes and of course with the engineering processes. So we just covered the objectives. So why companies implement People CMM? To become employer of choice, to enhance business performance, to manage intellectual and knowledge capital assets, and of course to measure HR's contribution to business. There are many studies and many data. If any one of you needs a lot of metrics and measurements about what are the factors in software companies which enhances productivity, we have lots of data which we can send to you perhaps sometime later. These are all the areas that People CMM can hit directly or indirectly in organizations. This was a survey done by DataQuest IDC, which talked about various factors why people choose jobs and why people leave jobs. So based on that survey, we analyzed which components People CMM can address. Again, if you look at the beginning slide, some of the areas where People CMM can directly or indirectly address. So the fundamentals are that development of workforce is a process that can be improved. It's not just an HR function. In most companies, People CMM is also implemented by people like you. The same people who implement the CMMI, the CMM, the ISOs, the same people are very importantly a part of the People CMM implementation. It is not an HR initiative alone. HR is a part of the initiative, but in most organizations, the same SCPG team may implement, or together with the HR team support, the People CMM framework. It's a process framework. So how does it look like? Very similar to the CMMI model. 5 levels, each level has a name, each level has a focus area, each level helps to increase the maturity of the organization to the next level. So what I will do in the next 10 minutes, very briefly take you through all the levels of the People CMM model and what does it really talk about. What is the spirit behind each level. We will not go detailed into the process area. So if you look at, this is how the model looks like. Level 2 process areas. So what we'll do is one by one we'll try and go across all process areas. So what does an organization normally, let's say, think about your own organization. Does your organization look like this? Administration, workforce practices considered overhead. Well, HR is a support function. Little training in managing people. Managers expect the HR department to administer workforce practices. There is not enough staff loyalty, a lot of attrition. So you may feel a lot of some of these points in your organizations, well, in most of the organizations actually. So this is a level 1, typical level 1 organization. Now level 2, there are process areas, staffing, compensation, performance management, training and development, work environment, communication and coordination. Now what does it do? Level 2 is called managed, and what it says is the focus is on enabling managers to take responsibility for managing and developing their people. So it brings in discipline into the workforce management by individual managers. And what does a level 2 company look like? There is commitment, there is discipline, there are repeatable processes, the performance of individual and units can get measured, and each unit knows what are their skill needs and how to manage them. So this is the typical level 2 organization. Now when we move to level 3, there are more process areas which include career development, workforce planning, competency analysis, competency development, participatory culture, work group, and competency-based practices. So this is level 2, and what does it focus on? Level 3 talks about developing workforce competencies and work groups and aligning with the organizational strategy. So level 2 focus is on getting the basic discipline in the workforce at a project and a unit and a department level. At level 3, we talk about aligning the workforce practices with the strategy of the company across the organization level. Right? So you identify the core competencies and align the people and activities related to them. Now moving to level 4. So level 3, how does the organization look like? There are competencies. So you know at an organizational level, what are the competencies required by each individual in the organization. These competencies are aligned towards your strategic goals. The workforce practices within the organizations are tailored for each of the units. So you have one team which is working on agile methodology, one team which is working on certain other environment, one team is working on outsourcing projects, for example. So each team may have its different business intents, business requirements, knowledge and skill requirements, different ways that people need to be managed. So how do you align as a common organizational system? The culture is more participatory, and there's more professionalism, of course, in the culture. Moving up to level 4, there are process areas, organizational capability management, competency integration. So at level 3, we find out what are the organizational competencies, and at level 4, we integrate them with the organizational capability management profile, and we link it to the organizational performance management, how organizations can manage performance based on whatever we've done in level 2 and level 3. So level 4 basically focus on empowering and integrating workforce competencies and managing performance quantitatively. You will see the philosophy is very similar to the CMMI framework, whereas where CMMI only focuses on the software engineering and management aspects, this is what really focuses on the aligning of people competencies and people performance. So you quantitatively manage workforce practices and establish competency-based teams. So that's a level 4, predictable. And this is the typical, how does a level 4 organization look like? The teams are integrated with various competencies and skills. They are empowered for managing performance. You measure things quantitatively. The teams and the individuals are enabled based on their experience and transforming them into real assets. And there is a lot of predictability. For example, 2 years later, if there is a business change going to happen, if you find out that 2 years later there is a more demand for certain kinds of programming language or certain kinds of business, maybe more consulting business, more IT consulting, you want to change into infrastructure management business, maybe your company wants to have a parallel BPO organization. So how do you really prepare your team, prepare your workforce, prepare your people, and predict their performance based on what's coming to the future, from the future. So you're able to predict the performance and align the workforce. And level 5, of course, continuously capability improvement, organizational performance alignment, and workforce innovations. I know this looks a bit hazy. It's not very easy to, I really can't do justice to this very interesting topic in half an hour, but I guess you'll get some idea. So what does level 5 talk about? It talks about continuously improving and aligning the personal, work group, and organizational capability towards the organization. And how does it look like? The whole culture of excellence, the whole culture of alignment towards organization goals, and the whole culture of innovation towards processes, towards systems, towards thinking. Because people don't worry about, is my career development happening? Am I getting the right pay? What's the competition doing? Is this a fun company culture to work? People don't worry about those things. So the whole culture is very professional, excellent, and full of innovation and charged. So that's how a level 5 people CMM organization looks like. And again, if you see, just like in CMMI, from level 1, individual focus, level 2, it becomes a team focus. Level 3, it becomes an organizational focus. And again, at level 4 and 5, it becomes a team and an individual focus. So there are a lot of similarities in the theme of the entire framework, because both come from SEI, but the focus is different. Very interestingly, now some companies also use the People CMM framework, not completely. So if you really want to benefit from the framework, you may not need to implement it end to end, all the process areas. No. You may even choose what is your company problem. So for example, when we go to clients, we really understand what are the issues, and you can pick the issues and then pick the process areas that can solve most of those issues. For example, let's say if the focus of your company is to build individual capability and make a learning organization, so you can pick and choose all these process areas across the levels. If your focus is to build the culture of teamwork, right? And if that's the real pain area of your CEO, of your top management, then you can pick and choose specific process areas that can help you to address that problem. If your focus is, how do I make a performance-oriented, result-oriented organization, then you can pick up some of the other process areas which are more aligned towards performance orientation. And if you need to, if the issue is you're expanding, you're growing the workforce, you're scaling up, you're opening other offices, you're really growing as an organization, how do you manage your workforce? Then there are certain process areas that you need to focus more on. So it gives you the flexibility of picking and choosing your focus areas. Of course, there is a lot of interrelationship. So if you implement the entire model, the result can be much more synergistic between all the process areas. Well, the People CMM assessments have been conducted all over the world. The top companies, Boeing, Citibank, Lockheed, Ericsson, Alcatel, CSC, they all have some of the international companies, some of the Indian companies where QAI has done most of these assessments, across India. If you look at some of the companies are not software companies, they are holiday resorts, there are some banks, there are some telecom companies. For example, ZTE, Zhongshin Tongshin in China, is implementing People CMM in a big way. The Bank of Muscat in Middle East is implementing People CMM in a big way. Citibank was one of the earliest adopters for the whole bank, not just for the software or IT division. And of course, others are purely software companies. Some of the reasons why companies do very similar. We'll come to the benefits. Typically 4 benefits, key areas. If you look at people process, we've actually seen companies dropping their appraisal time, the time it takes for an employee to give an offer and to join, attrition rates can go down, structured knowledge management can happen. This is actual comments of companies which have implemented People CMM. Employee benefits in terms of employee satisfaction, 60% increase in employee satisfaction, 45% increase in performance expectations increase, employee morale, empowerment culture, delivery optimization, the concern of the people which are present in this room. Effort variation can go down by 31%, drop in rework because of higher competency in people can go down, 110% increase in training time, improvement in review efficiency by 100% and drop in rework by 45% by TCS, and other things similar. Customer impact, again, 12% increase in guest feedback force, enables scalability, talent attraction, and therefore better customer service and delivery. So there are various benefits. Of course, there are lots more. When you actually start implementing, you realize that it's so much connected to the whole business strategy, much more than even perhaps a CMMI or any of the other frameworks. Now let us look at how does the CMMI and People CMM link up, because this is an SPI seminar, and let's see how People CMM can support companies to get more out of CMMI. Well, we know that there are process areas which constitute organizational maturity. Now, what's really important is we all focus on process capability, but the missing link is the workforce capability. If you have a good process capability, but real poor workforce practices or workforce capability, you cannot get the desired results or the intended benefits of any framework, any implementation, be it Six Sigma or CMM, Sigma or ITIL or security or whatever. And therefore, workforce capability and process capability really go hand in hand, and that improves organizational performance. Now let's look at the CMMI framework. Now if you look at the various process areas of CMMI right up to level 5, and then you look at the general practices. There are measurement analysis, commitment to perform, ability, verifying, work environment, performance management, communication and coordination, which is across all the processes. Now if you see, these process areas are directly addressed or indirectly addressed by utilizing a People CMM framework process areas like staffing, training and development, participatory culture, work groups and work group development. So these are really synergistic effects between the various process areas, and People CMM can really support to help implement these in a better way. If you look at level 4 and level 5, again, a lot of alignment between what CMMI desires and what People CMM can support it with. So if you look at quantitative process management and organizational capability management can really support the level 4 goals. And if you look at level 5, again, there is a lot of interrelationships. So just one more minute I'll take. Now, when you're applying the People CMM framework, you need to make it a component. It's not just one initiative that will help you to achieve organizational excellence. You need to make it one of the components of the overall organizational excellence roadmap or the performance improvement roadmap. It is not a separate program. It is not a human resource program. The biggest mistake people do is make it an HR initiative. So only HR department tries to implement People CMM. It doesn't happen. People like you have to take the ownership, have to be involved in the People CMM teams, and most of you guys are anyways, you're very familiar with the CMMI framework. You can respond much better, implement much better the People CM framework with the support of HR, of course. So these are some of the learnings in applying People CMM. You may choose or may not choose to implement completely and then go in for a formal certification. Many companies desire to go in for a certification because it helps them to collect data. You can really identify strengths and weaknesses. You can really understand whether it really satisfies the requirements of the framework. It helps you to have a measurable action plan, a kind of a cause for celebration once you achieve a People CM level 2 or level 3 or level 4. And of course, it helps you to attract talent. Many companies, I was talking to the CEO of HSBC Shared Services in India, and he clearly said that one of the fundamental reasons that they want to do People CMM is because they want to attract talent. And being a People CMM level 5, every employee knows that, well, this is the company which values human as assets, and they will take care. So there are lots of those benefits. Well, that's the end of my presentation. It was very fast, so I'm sorry if I was very fast. You can note down my email ID and my local mobile number in Bangkok. If you would like to have a copy of the presentation, or if you would like to have more white papers, some best practices, some studies, case studies on companies which have implemented People CMM, like Accenture, like Siemens, like Wipro, for example, or some of the other companies, or some banks or telecom, please email us. We will be very happy to send it to you. And we would definitely like to contribute towards your learning and organization development. So thank you very much. And thank you to the Thailand Spin and the Software Park for giving us the opportunity to present here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.